4 people I'm about to name for you. Tell me what they all have in common. Martin Luther King Jr., Bruce Lee, Winston Churchill, and Robin Williams.
They're all dead.
Yes. What else do they have in common?
Not a whole lot.
They are short kings. They're all 5'7", dude. How is that possible?
Terrible.
I did a little research because I heard someone say on Easter that Jesus was in fact 4'6", and I don't know if that's true, but I'm starting to think that the world is being run by short kings. James Madison, ever heard of him? 5'2". Prince, 5'2". Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in the history of the U.S., 5'2". This is absurd. Gandhi is 5'6". Like there are so many.
I almost said Napoleon Dynamite.
Bonaparte's 5'6". Yeah.
I thought he was like 4'11".
In reality, Lil Uzi's 5'4", but when he stands on his money, he's 6'6". So I don't really count him in this list. But there's true. Like there is a staggering amount of like really short, really lucrative, successful people. They go past the point of like,
there's quite
like
a
Danny
few
DeVito.
tall people too.
Yeah, but Danny DeVito, you think of him and it's like, oh, he's part of his act of how he's so funny is because he's short.
A micro, dude. He's tiny.
You don't imagine James Madison as a short guy. You don't imagine.
I actually didn't imagine Robin Williams as a short guy. He always like presented himself like a non-short guy.
How do these larger than life people? Right. Yeah. No, big time. There's like this list is long. Like
that's weird.
How do these short people present themselves as being
They're like the size of
life?
my mom.
Weird.
I don't know, dude. That is interesting. That's like a lot of like rappers nowadays are all tiny also. There's not really that many that are like over 6 feet tall. And it's like when you do see like pictures with like, say it's like a famous rapper with like Wiz Khalifa who's like 6'4". It's like so weird when you put that into perspective.
Staggering, yeah.
Also, that's just the thing with like celebrities in general, though. It's like you'll see a lot of pictures of them by themselves. So like I remember finding out, isn't Kim Kardashian like 5'2" or some shit? Like I don't know. I was like, dude, that's like unrealistically small. Like that's tiny. And like I don't know. There's just it's weird. It's just because you don't like see them in person really, but when you do, it's just like, oh wow.
Like Tom Cruise, you know, in his movies, they film him at these angles where it looks like he's like 6'1".
People around him to make him look taller too.
They did that on Game of Thrones too, where the tallest people in that show were like 6'4" to 6'5", and the Mountain, who's like this guy that towers over everyone in that show, is 6'8", but he looks like he's 7'5". That's because all the main characters in that show are 5'6", so they have to compensate somehow. Like it's dude, so
the Mountain
weird.
Is like twice their size.
Yeah, I know, but in reality, he's like LeBron James's height. It's kind of funny.
That is hilarious. I don't know. It's kind of terrible to say, but like when I find out somebody who I like look up to or think is cool, when I find out they're like really short, I lose like a little bit of respect for them. Like I'll never look at them the same ever again. I'm just like, God. Like I feel bad for them though. Like at some point, like
you feel bad for them? How dare you?
Like I wouldn't. It's like, oh, would I trade lives with somebody who's very successful,
Andrew Carnegie,
rich, but have to be 5'5"? No, I would keep my life and be 6'4".
This is why I love this segment, because I knew you'd be so dug into like, nah, fuck being short fuck being successful if it means being short. Like,
oh no, I would rather
I'll take
like,
my height.
I'd rather be like miserable and tall. I'm not miserable right now, but like saying like I'd rather be like broke and tall than like extremely successful and short. Like I feel like there's nothing more humiliating. Because it's so like degrade. Like if you just like imagine. Well, I've already done it and I got punched in like the face, but like calling somebody short, there's no coming back from that. Because like if it's true, like there's nothing.
Unless if they punch you in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I still felt like I came out on top. Like I was still
really.
Laughing. I was still laughing.
I guess,
yeah.
Especially because you said it in front of his girlfriend too.
Yeah, that was really funny.
And then you got thrown out physically by the bouncer.
Yeah, that's how this happened.
Still laughing. You did call him a short king though, right?
I love calling short people, like if I'm at a bar and I'm drunk and I'll call him big guy. Like if I bump into him, hey there, big guy. And I'm like looking down at them. They're like this tall.
Oh my God.
Like,
So what do you think about the Jesus thing? Do you think how tall do you think Jesus is?
I don't think Jesus ever existed, but
if he did, if Jesus from Nazareth,
if he was 4'6", that is absolutely embarrassing. And I think,
is that not the case for short kings though? That Jesus Christ himself was 4'6", and people think of him as like this
larger
deity,
than like literally
this
like they hold
son
him
of
on
God,
this pedestal.
Yeah, no, it's. And we'll get into religion in a second here. No, but
Kyle, think about how small. You know how small my sister is. She's 5 feet tall. If Jesus was 4 feet
shorter than your sister,
if my sister like towers over.
If your sister can like hold her hand on Jesus's forehead while he tries to swing at her, then like
his voice probably sounded like,
"Hey guys, I'm up here. I'm down here. Hey."
What if he sounded like that?
Like there's definitely some people here, like Winston Churchill, for instance, 5'7". That guy's like known for his gravitas and like his speaking voice and just his gravity of like being able to convince people to do things. But he was so short, and he's giving like live speeches. I'm just so curious. Like, Ben, what do you make of all this? How do you think short people are able to like portray this image of themselves where like you don't think of Robin Williams as that stature? Or maybe there's just a problem with Tristan and I and the way we see people of different heights. I don't know. Where do you land on all this?
I think.
How tall are you, Kyle? Like 6'1"?
No, I'm like 5'11", close.
I think that short man syndrome is a real thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think that definitely plays into the way people approach situations. It's like if you go into something thinking you're the underdog, that might give you a little more confidence. And I feel like these people in history, like Napoleon, the reason he was able to do these things, even though he ended up getting slaughtered in the end, was because he kind of had that short man syndrome, and he goes in there and
you feel like he has to overcompensate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of the big reason too. Like when you see some dude driving by in like a big old lifted truck, you're automatically like, oh, that guy's got a small peen. But
I always think he has a huge one.
Like I always hear people like, oh, he's overcompensating for something. But I feel like that is a real thing. I've met so many people who are like, a bit shorter than average, and they just have this attitude about them where it's like, wow, you're a real dickhead. But it's like, like I feel like I don't know about now it's like you kind of need like a talent or something to do that. But back in the day, you could just be a dickhead, and like as long as you proved yourself, you like could actually do what you're gonna do. You could make a difference. You could lead people, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and the way I see it is that there's two. Oh, sorry, Tristan. But the way I see it is that there's two like variations of that. Is that there's the person that doesn't see height, that's just like, I am who I am. I'm gonna do good things. I think Gandhi falls into this one where he's just like, I don't care how tall I am. That metric means nothing to me. I'm just gonna do my Gandhi thing. And then there's the person that uses their height, maybe like Bonaparte, like you mentioned, uses their height as an actual driving force, where they're like using that as motivation of like, people don't think I can do this because of my stature, and then they turn that into some sort of motivation. So it can land somewhere in the middle. But I mean, like, do you think us as normal height people are at a disadvantage for success because we don't have that added factor?
No, because I heard I don't remember this one. I don't remember where I heard it, but it was somebody, like one of my bosses told me this something. It was like most like CEOs of like big companies are over 6 feet tall, and it's like people that are taller are usually more like naturally respected. But I feel like that can kind of be like almost a disadvantage, because what if it's like you like see a tall person or something, you like look up to them, but they're just like a complete dumbass, or like they think that they know. I don't know. Like it can definitely like there's like a give and take to everything, but
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on what's on the inside. And
Yeah.
one little analogy that I was kind of thinking of having it, I don't know if it specifically have to do with short man syndrome, but you guys have all seen the movie The Wizard of Oz. And you know how Oz, in the end, he's like hiding behind this curtain and he's like working this big old light show and like super intimidating. And then they pull back the curtain and it's just like some dude operating all these switches and shit. That like I don't know. I feel like that could be applied to somebody. You know, I could see Napoleon back there, you know, working all these cranks and stuff, and you know, seeming super intimidating, but in reality, he's got a short stature.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a total front, but at least sometimes people can like bullshit their way to the top. You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One more short king I want to highlight before we move on from this is one Muggsy Bogues. 5'3", played in the NBA for I think 9 seasons. His real name isn't Muggsy, by the way. It's Tyrone.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact. But
same with like Nate Robinson.
Yeah, but like
I saw him in Seattle.
Nate Robinson has like 6 inches on Muggsy Bogues, and I know he did. I know he
was he like 5'8"?
Yeah, he's something like that. He was one of the guys that was listed at 5'10", but clearly wasn't. Muggsy Bogues is where they begin the height appendix for the NBA because he's the shortest person in NBA history. He's 5'3", and he was a point guard that played in the NBA in the 90s when, you know, the hand checking was at its peak. Yeah. I don't know how he did it. Like, mad respect to Muggsy Bogues.
I saw just this doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I saw Nate Robinson in Seattle when I lived there. He was like at a Starbucks.
Love Nate. Ben has a local newspaper in front of him from where, for some reason, someone decided to write into the newspaper asking for relationship advice. And instead of them, you know, saying, hey, maybe you should keep that to yourself, they went ahead and published it in the newspaper. So Tristan and I, who, you know, we're not a
couple shy guys.
Yeah, we're a couple shy guys, to put it lightly. We're going to go ahead and offer advice, unqualified as it may be, on this person's conundrum. We have not heard their conundrum yet.
Yeah,
so,
here, just a little bit of a backstory. Kyle, what is Kyle? Tell us about your longest relationship with a woman, and then I'll tell you mine.
Well, I think it was when a couple guys on the service baseball team gave me the password to their Brazzers account that they shared, and I was able to get those 50+ minute videos, and that's probably the longest relationship I've had. But that's about it, you know.
Oh,
so I'm very qualified to give relationship
by
advice.
the way, we're also 22 years old at the time of this podcast.
At the time of recording. When we release it, well, obviously 29, but you know.
And I'm pretty much with Kyle there. I've never really had any kind of serious relationship, so I think we're more than qualified to give relationship advice.
Let's help this person out. Ben, what's the topic? Let's hear it.
Alrighty, so I'd like to start out by saying that this is more like it's almost like a third wheel. It's like somebody who's like observing a relationship that's happening, and they're not necessarily happy with what is happening in this relationship. Okay?
Yeah.
So here we go. I live in a densely populated luxury high-rise apartment building in a busy downtown neighborhood that has a diverse mix of residents. I have lived here for 4 years and have never really had many issues until recently.
Was this coming from a guy or a girl?
You'll figure out. My next door neighbor works in the medical field that at times has very late or early hours associated with it. I also work in a field that has odd hours, so I am empathetic. Anywhere between 2 and 4 a.m. I am a light...
So she can hear him fucking.
Let me get to it. I am a light sleeper. and get awakened by their sessions together.
This is in the newspaper.
I can hear her voice and at times jostling of furniture.
Oh my
I have
God.
thought about telling the building management, but it would be obvious that the complainant would have come from me, or the complaint, sorry. And I don't want that. I also don't want to cause embarrassment to either of us. How can I address this delicately without causing embarrassment, or must I suck it up and suffer?
Well, they both work weird hours, so they're basically meant to be, I think.
I still can't tell if it's coming from a guy or a girl.
I don't even think it matters really. But first of all, how dare he or she? They work in the medical field. They're dealing with death on a daily basis, and this person is upset because they're hearing, someone minding their own damn business in their apartment.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this person? Definitely don't tell your landlord, but not because you think that they're gonna know it's you. You should not tell your landlord, period. Tristan, am I alone in thinking that this person stewing in their apartment is the asshole here, and that they have no claim to interject in this person's life at all?
I don't know, because what if the two people that are fucking are being like absurd about it, and like
They said they could hear furniture moving.
like, yeah, exactly. So it's like maybe they're being like a bit excessive with like how loud their sessions are. I don't know. I've definitely lived in like places that it's like, well, my fucking house that I lived in Seattle had like paper thin walls, and sometimes my roommates, there was 3 of us that lived, there was a room next to mine, so I shared a wall with one of the guys, and then one was across the hall, and sometimes they would have sessions, and I could hear it very, very clearly. But I would never say anything about it, because it's like, yeah, it's not my business, and I could easily just do something. It's not like it's going to last like hours, it's probably like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, like the tops or some shit. So it's like, I don't know, figure out something to do, like watch a movie or put headphones in or some shit. Like, it's not
Now
that big
that
a
I
deal,
think
but
about it,
I do
now
think
that I
it's
think
kind of,
about
it
it.
would be kind of hilarious if the person writing this did confront them about it. Cause like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
just like weird, but I think it would be so funny if like one of my neighbors if it like annoyed me. I'm sure it wouldn't annoy me that bad, but literally going to their apartment and be like, hey, I can tell you guys are like fucking real loud at like 2 a.m. If there's any chance that you can keep it down, that would just be great. And they would
And
probably
look,
be like,
I get
oh,
it.
shit.
I get it. I work weird hours too. Like, I understand. I understand what
get
you're
it.
going
I
through.
like to get freaky too, but yeah, no, like, dude, that would be so funny, because they would probably be kind of embarrassed if you like brought it up, and then they'd probably be more conscious about trying to keep it down. So I think it's a good idea just to like literally
Or
go.
do they ramp it up? If they hear that someone like fuck this weirdo who's like coming and confronting us about what we're doing at 2 in between 2 and 4 in the morning, like let's turn it up. Let's really like knock some chairs over.
I don't know.
Let's take this
But
up to an
if they
11.
did that, then I think if it got to that point, they could easily tell the landlord to do something about it if it was like super obnoxious. But I don't know. My
I am
advice would
wondering
be,
how loud it is.
if you think if it's really annoying you that bad, just go talk to them and just acknowledge, just say like, hey, I've been hearing some like strange noises around 2 and 4 in the morning. I'm just wanting to make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah,
Make it seem like it might be domestic abuse.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, make it seem like you think that's what's happening, and then they'll probably be like, oh shit, sorry. Like, they'd probably be embarrassed about it. I mean, if it was a normal person, they'd probably be embarrassed about it. So
well, they would
maybe,
be embarrassed, but like, why bring them that embarrassment? Like, this person's so clear. This person is so confident that they're fucking that he wrote into the newspaper to tell. Like, he knows what's going on there. Any way he asks is like
I'm
a
just saying,
misleading
like,
question. It's
that's
misguided
what I
because
would
he's
do.
like, his intentions are poor, I think, if he's asking, because he knows what's going on. I say stay downstairs, get into voyeurism if you want, join in virtually, and just sort of like start like enjoying yourself to whatever they're getting into.
Get a drone and park it right outside their window.
There you go. Now we're talking. Very
so
strange situation. This person has no ground to stand on to interject or go talk to them. If he does, he becomes the asshole.
No, I don't think so. I think he should definitely confront them, but make it sound like he doesn't know that they're fucking. Just say like, hey, I've been hearing some weird, like, I don't know, like stuff moving around up here. I'm just making sure everything's okay. Just say something like subtle like that. And then like more than likely, I would say they will tone it down a bit. But maybe you just have like overly sensitive hearing and they're just being normal. But
he is a light sleeper.
I think if it bothers you that much, confront it, but in a different, like, but not like, just confront it by like bringing up something else.
One more question I have regarding this. Again, there is an angle whenever this person happens to like write into the newspaper about it, but I'm wondering, so this person mentions how he's empathetic towards this other person. They both work weird hours. They're in the medical field. Is this person into the person that's getting railed upstairs? And is he hearing this lady getting railed, the woman of his dreams? And is that what's making him upset enough to the point where he's writing into a newspaper about it?
Point.
Is he into her?
Probably. But he's probably a little cuck boy. And he's too nervous to like, they're probably fucking coworkers, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also works at the hospital. He just failed to mention that.
That's so fucking funny. Well, they're both in medical field, but I don't know. Yeah. I would just confront him about it, but not be like, hey, I could tell you're fucking. I'd just be like, hey, I think that I've been hearing some strange noises. Yeah.
And my end advice would be that if you do confront them, just lead in honestly. Just say, hey, the opposite of what you're saying, basically. Like, hey, I know what you two are doing, and quite frankly, I'm all right with it, and I'm pleased.
Well, that's our honest opinion.
Some truly bad relationship advice there. So if you're listening, creepy person that writes into local newspapers about your, sexual tensions, take our advice or don't.
Oh, yeah, and I like how they have an option. They can hear my side of the story and your side, and they can kind of it might be easier for them to make their decision too.
It's a good segment. God, if they made the decision off that conversation, then they are so clearly impressionable in like the way they've reached out for advice. So I think anything's up on the table right now for them.
Definitely. I'd like to give a little shout out to all the medical personnel too.
Yes.
For being brave during these times. And if you want to get a little funky at night, I don't give a shit, but
do it.
Just keep doing what you're doing during your work hours.
I have one more quick shout out.
Can you have sex while you're social distancing?
You probably shouldn't.
Good question.
But
you probably shouldn't, especially not a nurse. God, that's a little selfish of her now that I think about it. The way she's like dealing with the coronavirus all day, and then she comes home, she takes off one layer that she leaves at the hospital, or I don't know how they do that, and then she's just like, all right, 2 to 4 a.m., my time to shine. Let's do it. But yeah, no, I really I feel bad now because I detracted from your point, Ben. Yes, that is those are the heroes of 2020 and beyond. Sure.
I'd like to give a quick shout out too. Mm-hmm. Shout out to COVID-19. I haven't had to go to work in like 2 months, and I'm getting unemployment checks. So I got like $2,500 today. I don't know. I've been having a really good time. I went to the golf course. I got like $2,500 direct deposit.
You have pulled the rug out from under Ben's shout out in one sentence. Shout out to the coronavirus. Terrible. Awful.
Of course, I'm joking, but it has not been the worst experience of my life, I should put it.
For you. And for me, but for so many others, it really is. So,
I mean, I lost my job and everything, but I'll be able to get it back, and I'm still getting paid to do nothing. So, shout out to COVID.
Nice. I lost my internship, so that's nice.
Oh, fuck. That sucks, dude.
Yeah, all the Foot Lockers are closed, unfortunately. So where they distribute all the shoes and clothing and all that. I thought you meant
as a sales rep.
Oh yeah. Where the pinstripes.
Welcome to Foot Locker.
But low key, like, not just myself. I've known so many college students. Luckily, I'm not like, getting a full-time job right now. But I
A
can't
lot
even
of people
imagine,
our age have lost their jobs and
yes,
stuff
yes,
like that, which
very
definitely
unfortunate
sucks.
for sure. Yeah,
And
but we'll
Oh,
rebound.
something crazy that I saw when I was reading about the Great Depression for a history class. Unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25% at its worst. And right now, we've only had unemployment tick up over a percentage point over the last month. It was at 3.5 in February. Now it's at 4.5. And it feels like there's
drastic
9 million people unemployed. To think about 25% of the country being unemployed is
that's
stupid.
absurd.
Like completely absurd.
Oh yeah, definitely. What would you do if you were walking out of a grocery store to your car and you hit the unlock button on your car, and as you hit that, you see your tail lights light up, blinking because you just unlocked your car. You see somebody pulling out of their parking spot. They sideswipe the side of your car and then start driving off.
That's an easy one for me.
You want to take it?
Yeah. I've already thought of this before. There's a 100% chance I would hop in my truck, start it up, and run their ass off the road. At that point, I would just be seeing red. They could be going 45 miles an hour. Just say we're in Anchorage and they were on Diamond or something. Say they're going 45, 50 miles an hour on Diamond. I'm rear-ending them going 95 miles an hour, just and launching them off the side of the road. And then I'd probably get out of the car and go see if they were dead. And then if they weren't, I'd ask them why the fuck they sideswiped me.
Nice. Kyle, do you have a more passive approach?
Either way, if I didn't run them off the road, I would at least fucking follow them. Get their, at least the smarter thing to do would to follow them, get their license plate information and stuff. If you want to be an asshole about it, follow them to their destination. Because then, what are they going to do? Are they just going to drive around forever with you following them?
What do you mean if you want to be an asshole? You already gave the asshole approach. You're rear-ending them going 45 miles an hour faster than they are. On Diamond Boulevard, there's small businesses on the side. You're talking about running them off the road. They're gonna crash into the Starbucks. They're gonna crash into the Wells Fargo.
Dude, if they scratched at my truck, they have lost all their rights.
Any approach I could take would be more passive than that, but I would it just sounds like I'm being a contrarian, but I wouldn't do anything. I couldn't chase them because I'm not a fucking insane lunatic.
Would you take a picture?
I would try and take a picture. I think I would try and take a picture and then go from there. But if they get out of there quick enough, it's oh well.
Really? We're way different when it comes to cars, though. I have a very emotional connection with my cars.
Almost too emotional.
Well,
you
but
pulled
I don't
a gun
get attached.
on a moped driver that cut you off. True or false?
Yeah, it's true. But I was a hot-headed, fresh out of high school, 19-year-old.
I'll say you're 22.
I wouldn't have done the same thing now. There's not.
Yeah, you just chase them and try and actually kill them with your truck. There's man, I could not I don't get hot-headed about cars. You're right. If that happened to me, I'd be oh shit, that sucks. That's
I've also owned.
That's gonna look bad on my car.
I've owned 12 vehicles and I've only been driving for 7 years.
Something about that doesn't add up.
So it's I'll see them and I'll get emotionally attached immediately, and I'll be I can't live without owning that vehicle. And then I'll see another one 4 or 5 months later, and the same thing happens, and I just buy that one instead.
What would you do, Ben?
I think it depends. If it's, I would definitely, first thing I would do if I saw them hit my car, I would definitely pull out my phone and try to get the license plate. If I notice they're speeding out of there, Depending on the area I was in, like if I knew the area really well, I may try to follow them just so I could like see a home address or see where they're heading or see if they're like elderly, you know, if they have a handicap sign on. I'm probably not gonna sideswipe them off the road, but
Tristan's
you know,
not checking.
Yeah. But I would definitely address the situation, but I would probably bare minimum definitely try to take a picture. And then, you know, if it's something where they're rolling from the grocery store parking lot over to get gas, I might confront them at the gas station and be like, yo, you just hit my car. Whereas if they're, you know, some teenage kid or somebody who's just driving fast and they're out of there super quick, then it would probably be a more passive approach where I would just file a police report or, you know, something like that. Call the insurance company.
Mine, okay, like honestly, what I would actually do, I would still like, I don't see there being a scenario where I wouldn't like chase them down, but I obviously wouldn't try to like wreck them off the road. But I think the only reason that they would be running is because they don't have insurance. So I think it'd be really funny to catch them and then just fuck their life like so hard. Because
I'm all about confronting them. Like if you see them pull into the gas station across the lot, it's like, fuck yeah, I'm driving over there and we're talking about
like,
this.
If they try to
I'm not gonna chase them with meaningless violence because I don't think they have insurance. I'm gonna lose my insurance. I'm gonna lose my license chasing this person.
No. That's where you got it all wrong. You could easily just chase them down to where you can get close enough to get their license plate insurance. Because then like, you could easily just report them. Like at that point, it's so easy. And then the cops will know who did it. There's probably witnesses at that point. And if they don't have insurance, that's really going to teach them a lesson, which I think is awesome. If you track them down, because if they get away with it, you're probably in the end, probably still going to get insurance money to get your car fixed. But I think like teaching them the lesson is the most satisfying part.
What about this? When you gave us this hypothetical, Ben, I pictured, for some reason, Huffman cars. And just to give the listener a little context, there's a roundabout right outside of this car's, they call it Safeway in the lower 48, as we call it. And there's also this snaking, like, back road behind it. If I felt like I saw that they were booking it and they went out of the roundabout and they went right and they were just hauling ass, like, I figure I have a 50% chance of guessing correctly. Either they turn left and they go to like Michael's house and they try to get on the highway, or they're heading towards O'Malley.
Definitely.
And so if I cut them off at like that bike shop, Chain Reaction or whatever it is, that's like right there, that's a pretty satisfying moment.
Yeah.
But I just don't think I would ever like, I don't know. Once I catch them, it's kind of like, now what? I don't know. I'm not putting my car at more risk by like rear-ending them.
I don't know what I would do once I take a video with your phone instead of trying to take a picture. Take a video and try to get the license plate.
Yeah, and one good point you brought up too, Kyle, is like you don't know what they're gonna do. Like I don't carry a gun in my car. I know Kyle doesn't carry a gun in his car.
That's where you're mistaken.
But when you're in Alaska, you know, like a good percentage of the people are carrying guns. So the last thing you want to do is get in a situation where, like, you know, life or death situation over a little side swipe on the back of your car. And so
I definitely trust my shooting abilities more than theirs, though.
What a terrible sentence. What car was it? I think this might be the last detail before I give my full commitment to a decision. What car sideswiped me? Like, what kind of car was it?
1994 Honda Civic.
Yeah, I was gonna say Civic.
I'm getting the hell
like
out of there.
Piece of shit. A piece of shit.
I'm not messing with them. I am out.
If I saw a Civic peel out, I'm like, okay, my truck is 3 times bigger than that, and it's faster. It has way more power. There's no way they're getting away.
So you think you're thinking like a murderer right now? You're thinking like Antoine Chigurh. Like, this is scary to hear from you.
Not at all. It's just like you could easily catch up with them, and then like if push comes to shove, you're gonna win the fight.
Well, fight? You're talking about running them off the road.
Dude, you could pit maneuver them, and they would be fucked.
I
That's
don't trust my.
that's where you
What
get
is
up
a
on
foot
them
maneuver?
and you just like hit their back end so they spin out.
That's the same thing as running them off the road. It's way more dangerous and way more damaging than the initial scratch. I'd let it go. End of the day, I'd let it go in answer to your question.
Dude, this I backed into a Honda Civic. Actually, it was a Honda Accord. I backed into it and I totaled it. And it, dude, the mark that it made on my truck, I have a tiny little scratch on my back bumper, but I legitimately totaled the car that I hit. And I was going like 4 miles an hour because I have like that hitch receiver on my, like that steel piece that connects to the frame that you plug in like a trailer hitch.
Yeah, yeah.
When I backed up, my truck sits higher than the little car, right? And that hitch receiver caught the front of the grill, and I was going up the car, and it ripped the hood like out of the latch and like fucked up everything. And it like ripped the hood completely off. And then I called like Steven or something. He's like, dude, get the fuck out of there. But there's cameras. I was like,
Why'd you call Steven? Is he your lawyer?
No, he was like with me, but he left before me. And I was like, I'm going to be a little late because I just fucking destroyed this Honda Accord. And since it was such a cheap car anyways, my insurance barely went up. I stayed and I like took a picture of the plates and called my insurance and shit, and they got a hold of the owner. So I did the right thing there. But I was the one that caused it anyways. I totaled the car.
So you didn't do the right thing.
It didn't do any damage to my truck, like literally none.
That's probably why we have differing views on this topic, is because there's just different levels of consequences to, you chasing someone in your truck as opposed to me chasing someone in my Santa Fe.
If you saw that somebody sideswiped your car, would you even be like that pissed off? Like if it wasn't that bad?
No.
I would be so fucking heated. Like I would be so mad.
I believe that.
Like
I stress about different things. That much is clear. We definitely have priorities aligned a little differently, but that's why bad relationship advice and that what would you do work out very well. Ben, I'm curious about
Ben, what the fuck would you do? I got picked up by this one guy and thrown against a wall at a party. But he had no place being there.
How'd that happen?
Oh my God. I feel like explaining like how I got there, I would for sure go to prison if I said that story. But you guys already know it. It's that time with Tony when we drove to Spokane.
Yeah, absolutely.
At like midnight.
I mean, like, I'm already gonna edit this podcast. Like, why don't you go ahead and tell it? And just because I don't know, I know exactly what you're talking about, but
okay, basically
it's a great context,
story. Me and my buddy Tony, we both lived in Seattle, and one of our good friends, Cedric, also lives there, and he's still one of my really good friends. We talk all the time.
Daddy Cedric.
Yep, Papa said. Anyways, one time me and Tony got super drunk. And we were just sitting in his apartment, which was in a dope ass spot in Seattle. It was in Fremont, Seattle, which is a really cool area. But we were sitting there. It's like 11:30 p.m. We weren't like super drunk. We both probably had like around 10 to 12 beers. And so we're sitting there, we're like mildly drunk. And then Cedric, we FaceTimed him, I think. We were talking to him. He's like, dude, come to Spokane. And I was like, yeah, whatever. He's like, no, come right now. And I was like, I like reevaluated the situation. I'm like, well, I don't have to work tomorrow. I don't have to work the next day. So, yeah, this is starting to sound pretty juicy. And so Tony was the one, he's like, dude, let's go to Cedric's house tonight. And I was like, okay. And it was like, I don't know if you've been to Seattle when it's like pissing rain, like so much rain that it feels like somebody's just got a bucket dumping it on your windshield of your car. Like you can have your windshield wipers on all the way and it doesn't do shit. It was like that. And there was like hurricane warnings and shit. We had like an Amber Alert, which it's like you have to drive through like the mountain pass and shit. It's like not like the safest drive. And we'd already had like 12 beers each. And we ended up killing that pack of beer before we got to Cedric's house. And it was like an 8-hour drive. We got to Cedric's house at like 8 in the morning or like 7 in the morning. And we were both like fucking blacked out. It was like 7 in the morning. I think it's like mom answers the door and she's like, Tristan, oh, I haven't seen you in so long. I'm just like, who the fuck is she? No, I'm just kidding. But I was like so fucked up. And so me and Tony slept in Cedric's bed for like 5-6 hours, got back up. We're super hungover. And then there was a party going on at Cedric's cousin's house. We went to this party. We bought some packs of beer and shit. And we get there and everything was pretty chill. But Tony went so hard, dude. He got blacked out in like 45 minutes. Like he was like beer bonging like vodka and shit, and he passed out in the front yard. And keep in mind, we had been there for less than an hour, like for sure. And I remember everyone there was pretty much our age, except for there's these 2 guys there, and one of them was like in his late 20s. He was like 28. He was training to be a police officer, and I kept like chirping at him like all night. Like I would say like he would like miss a shot in beer pong and be like, oh, that was pretty cute, or some bullshit like that. And
pulling his strings, just pushing his buttons.
Yeah, I was pushing his buttons like all fucking night. And then finally, that dude was trying to like police the party. And he's like, everyone needs to go to bed. And I was like, fuck that. And he's like, what'd you just say? And I was like, I'm not going to bed. And he's like, well, why the fuck not? Everybody's like supposed to leave. And he's like, you need to go to sleep right now. I'm like, where the fuck am I supposed to go to sleep? Here on the floor? He's like, yeah. And I was like, no fucking way. Like I was like being such an asshole to him. Like, no
just
fucking way.
In general, difficult.
Oh, and this dude, by the way, this dude was yoked. Like he was so jacked. And I was like, yeah, I think the only way you're going to get me to go to sleep is if you knock me out. And he's like, you really mean that? I was like, yeah. And like, he didn't or whatever, but like, we had like a big argument downstairs, and then he walked upstairs and he goes, by the time I get back down here, you better be asleep. And I was like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. And he walks upstairs. He's like, are you asleep? And I was like, nope. And
You're a 6-year-old kid.
He runs downstairs, and like I wasn't that much taller than him, but he was probably like 6 foot. I was like 6'4". He fucking grabbed me by the shirt and picked me up and pinned me against the wall. And he's like, I fucking swear to God, if you don't shut the fuck up, I will kick your ass. And I was just like, ugh. Like I was just like mocking him. And then he like launched me into the wall. Like, I thought I was gonna break the wall. He like fucking pushed me so hard. And then I was like, oh shit, he's not really fucking around. So I ended up sleeping on the floor at Cedric's cousin's house. I remember like laying there, like not falling asleep. Like, this is such fucking bullshit.
I can't even sleep. I'm not even tired.
Yeah, I was like, I haven't even had like 20 beers yet. This is fucking bullshit.
The big piece of context he left was that he wasn't semi-drunk when he left to go to Cedric's. He was blitzed, and I know because he FaceTimed me while I was in school at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Yeah, I believe it. And you were just so hammered, and it was this funny thing because I'm like, oh, I'm talking to Tristan, and he's hammered, and he's just doing his normal thing, and then all of a sudden I hear Tony in the background, and there's this buzz that you guys are going somewhere, and I was like, whoa, Tristan, whatever, the Black and Milds can wait. Like, don't go to 7-Eleven. Like, don't go anywhere. Stay home. And you're like, we're thinking about visiting Cedric. You're like slurring your words. I was like, you in what army? What are you talking about? And then you guys like proceed to walk out, and you're like threatening me with it somehow. You're saying like, Kyle, and I'm thinking about like hanging up because I just don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be implicated in your death the next morning. So I'm like, I'm hanging up. I can't do this. And you're like, Kyle, we're gonna go. We're going. And then you're on the road for like 5 minutes before you're like, Kyle, we gotta let you go. We gotta concentrate on the road. And you like put the phone up to the windshield, and it is like buckets of rain, like you're talking about. You can't see anything. And I'm like, yes, please hang up. But you know how well I slept that night? About as good as you. About as good as you, because I thought you were dead. I thought you were going to die. And then I'm like, I text you the next morning and you respond, and I'm like, thank God. But you were blackout drunk.
I bet you like were partially expecting me not to respond. Like
I really wasn't. And Jason and I, like that was my roommate at the time. We were, we were both sort of talking to you, and then we went to classes, and we were both like, dude, he might be dead. Like, this is not good. And then
I chalked that up as a near-death experience, because you should. I honestly hardly remember the drive, and it was like an 8-hour drive.
It was outrageous. Middle of the night, like I can't believe it. But yeah, that'll be this week's edition of Context Alert with Tristan and Kyle.
When's the last time you were next to someone who smelled like straight dick, but you didn't have the nuts to tell them?
Oh, nice wording. Nice phrasing. I like that. Do you have an answer, Tristan? I'm trying to think.
I do, actually. This was like about a year and a half ago. I went to like a business meeting with my dad. And I remember I worked out like right before I went, and I took a shower and everything. But I remember I was wearing like a suit, and I sat down, and we were in an auditorium. And I sat down in the auditorium, and my sister was sitting next to me. And I remember just smelling like straight BO. And like for a second, I thought it was me, but I was like, I've never smelled like that. Like, I was thinking about it the whole time. Like, I can't tell you a single thing. This speaker was up on the podium for like an hour. Could not tell you a single thing he said, because the whole time I was just thinking, like, I hope that's not me that smells, because like it fucking reeked. And then I remember at the end, I stood up and I asked my dad, I was like, do I smell? And he's like, no. And I asked like 3 other people, and they were like, no, you're good. And I fucking spotted the guy, and you could tell it was him. And he was sitting like 2 rows in front of me, and it still smelled that bad.
What was the dead giveaway?
The way that he looked. Like, he wasn't really dressed the nicest, and he looked kind of like a dude that might live in like his mom's basement. And you could kind of just tell, like, people were staying away from him and shit. And like, from the positioning, I was like, damn. But then I was just thinking, like, the whole time I was like, imagine going somewhere that public and like a sort of high-end event where you have to dress up and just reeking of shit. Like, reeking so bad that people 2 rows back, and I guarantee the people 2 rows ahead of him could easily smell him too. And that's definitely, I didn't say anything to him because I kind of felt bad, but then again I was like, how the fuck could you like consciously go to this event? Maybe he didn't know that he smelled that bad, but like, if you smelled that bad, he probably knew. Like, the balls, the audacity of this motherfucker, dude. Like,
the tenacity, the veracity, all that.
Yeah, like everything. I kind of hated the guy. I was like, you motherfucker.
And also, like you had that rage building because you thought it was you the whole time. You thought you were the
I didn't think it was me, but then like sitting there thinking about it, I didn't rule it out. I was like, damn, it could be me. And then finally getting the confirmation from other people that it wasn't me, I could finally push like all that like stress and anger onto someone else. And I was like heated. I was like, this asshole probably just ruined that whole night for like at least 10 people.
Yourself included.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Anyways. I have an answer as I was thinking of that, but it is a little hard, and it's a bit of a cheat because the person is anonymous, because I don't know who it was. But the radio station I worked at in Manhattan, there's these 3 little studios of not very big rooms. And you can just sort of like, they're open. They're basically like, if you can get your hands on the combination to the, get the key, you can use it. So all you have to do is be a student. There's not great qualifications. sometimes I've gone into these studios and there's just been like 8 beer cans in the trash. Like people, you know, make themselves at home, which is fine. What's not fine is occupying that studio for 2+ hours and just ripping ass the whole time. And then coming out like nothing happened. Like, you're a piece of shit, whoever you are. I went in there to just do some work. This is like work. This is like, I have to record a line or I have to make a commercial, and I have to be in this studio. And it smelled as if someone had shat and hid it somewhere in the room. Like, it was behind the computer or something, behind the big board. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was so present and just despicably gross.
Ruined your whole experience.
I was like, I was more mad than I was, you know, disgusted at the smell, because the smell was really bad. It was omnipresent, but I was more mad at the just, you know, like you, the audacity of someone to just think that this is all right to shit themselves for 2 hours and be like, oh,
in a public space.
Yeah, it is a public space. It's like,
or
come on,
shared
have
space.
some respect. It's, yeah, shared space is a better term, but like I was disgusted in more ways than one, but that would be my answer.
So I have another question for you guys.
All right.
This one's stupid also, but it's kind of funny. You have to answer it honestly too.
We do.
When is the last time you shit your pants?
We were talking about this pre-show.
It could be a shark. It could be a little guppy. It could be whatever.
A tadpole, if you will. I was at the Anchorage Museum. I was maybe, let's say, 8. And I felt something coming on, but I was also enjoying myself. I remember it was a dad's day. Dad and I hit the town on our own. We probably got lunch afterwards. Probably not, actually, because I shat myself. But we were enjoying ourselves in the museum, and then all of a sudden, this wasn't even like a you just, you know, sometimes you feel it coming, and you know, I say this like I shit myself a lot. I don't, I promise. But sometimes you feel the shit coming. A lot of times you just don't. This one was just like fart equals diarrhea all down my pants. And you know me as a kid, I always wore sweatpants. So I was just like sort of waddling to the bathroom down this long, like way too long museum corridor. It was, you know, the fact that it happened is burned into my brain, but all the details surrounding it are sort of fuzzy because I feel like I had post-traumatic stress syndrome and blocked a lot of it out. But I can, in fact, confirm that it was at the Anchorage Museum.
Ben, what about you?
The last time I can like distinctly remember would have been, I don't know exactly. It was definitely during my senior year sometime of high school. But it was like following I want to say it was like a weight session or something like that for like football, maybe practice, maybe something like that. But like it just kicked my ass, whatever it was. I want to say it was like a weight room session, and I just like hadn't worked out in forever, and was going to Diamond, and we were like up in the weight room, like just I was like getting wrecked by whatever this workout it was, and like all of our coaches are up there just like screaming at us as we're like doing all these bullshit workouts. And then I just remember like driving home and like thought that it was just gonna be, you know, like a little pass gas, but next thing I know, it was like not. And so I was like driving, and I like immediately felt it. I was like, oh shit, like that is
literally
not. Yeah, I was like, that is not what I thought. So then like the rest of the ride home, I was like, I didn't stop anywhere because I was just like, you know, straight shot home. But I remember just like getting home and just like unloading, and then.
And there was streaks in your undies?
Yeah, checking the evidence, and like it wasn't aggressive. Like it's not like I like completely emptied my bowels in there because like I sensed it coming on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm gonna answer this question also because mine was a little bit not recent, but like I was in 8th grade. It was a 3-day basketball camp hosted by the Varsity South basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were playing like pickup games like the last day, and it was like a tournament sort of. And I remember I went up for a rebound and I got the ball, and when I hit the ground, I just and I could feel the spray hit the back of my boxers. And I fucking, in the middle of the game, dropped the ball, dead sprinted off the court.
That's such a giveaway.
I fucking ran to the bathroom and I pulled down my pants and there was like spray in my underwear. And I was like, oh my fucking God. And I ended up like pooping. But the thing is, I didn't feel it coming. Like I didn't have to fart or poop doing it. I like went up for the rebound, landed, and as I landed, just sprayed into my underwear, and I ran.
Do you think it matched, like the sound matched with your like feet hitting the ground and like, you clasping the ball? Like
no one would have heard it.
Like, people didn't hear it, right?
Yeah. It's like as I hit the ground, it just came out, and then I sprinted to the bathroom. I wiped, and then I took my underwear off and threw them in the garbage. And then I played the rest of the whole day with only shorts on and no underwear.
Commando. That's crazy.
But yeah, I was like, I remember like hitting the ground, shitting my pants, and just like I froze for like a second, didn't pass the ball to anyone. I just dropped it and ran off.
Basketball or just athletics in general bring out the shit in people. Like
Mhm.
this one wasn't fully like, but it's just that tension. Like I remember playing basketball in Fairbanks trying to like chase around this guy that was way better than me. And, I was just like, let me at least make it hard for him. Like I'll, make sure that he feels me when I'm boxing out. And like, I'm just going to try and like play hard while guarding this guy. And so I'm chasing him around and we both go up for a rebound and my arm gets tangled with his. And it's almost like he pulls my arm up like a lever and I just let out like this really high pitch, like, and he commented on it. He's like, God damn.
That's fucking hilarious.
But so I think that is like a vested thing. And for me, I was just a little kid that was, like should have shit earlier in the day and then did it at the museum. But for both of you guys, it was brought on by like working out and
100%.
That
Mine
physical
just caught
stress
me
of it
so
all.
off guard that I was just like, no fucking way.
That's it. That's the inaugural episode of 3 Guys, 1 Podcast, named TBD. It's all fun, and it's all here on 3 Guys, 1 Podcast. See y'all next week. Bye. Deuces.